State Representative Matt Schaefer had not had a Democratic challenger since he was first elected to represent Smith County. Well, this year, he does. Joining us now is his challenger, Julie Gobble. Julie, thanks for being with us today.
Good morning, David. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Given that no Democrat has run for this seat in the last 2 decades, what inspired you to run, and why do you think you can win?
So I was inspired to run knowing Matt's specific legislative stances and his response to a horrific gun violence incident last year, which occurred in El Paso first and then Odessa. Over 30 people were killed between those 2 incidents in Texas within a month's time. And so just as some background, I worked on Neil Katz's campaign, who was an independent that challenged Matt. And I was really inspired by Neil's the way he ran his campaign. It was a broad coalition of people from every ideological background. But through that process, I also knew Matt's stances on pivotal issues and how he had been voting. So with that knowledge combined to his Twitter response to a mass shooting, which was antithetical to empathy and leadership, in my opinion, and rather than reach out to the families or the first responders or really anyone that had been involved in the shooting or was a victim of gun violence, he took that moment to go to Twitter and politicize it for personal gain, which was really upsetting because at the time I was seeing his tweets rolling in, I was sitting with my family on the couch watching the news, being horrified. And our response was to meet together with a broad swath of people to talk about how we as a community wanted to respond to gun violence and how we wanted to prevent gun violence. And so that's actually at that meeting was when, I, surrounded by friends from every ideological background, said, well, you should run. And I decided to do that at that time.
And given that voters in District 6 haven't had a Democrat to consider in such a long time, what are you saying to try and sway them to vote for you?
Yeah, so these conversations have centered around how I know East Texans vote and how I know their values are aligned. And they're oftentimes very much so aligned with my own. I've been in East Texas since I was 9, so a little girl, and I've been raised in this culture. I understand the culture, and my perspective has always been to talk about the issues and how we go from a problem to a solution. That's my biggest goal, to work with every single person in the community to say, we have the highest infant mortality rate in the state. How do we lower that? How do we work together to ensure that mothers and children have access to the care that they need that could work to prevent or lower that infant mortality rate? We have the highest maternal mortality rate in the state, or one of them. How do we ensure that we're making sure that women are getting the health care they need for the full year postpartum? We have the highest suicide rates in the state. How do we ensure that our children, fathers, husbands, wives, kids are able to access the mental health care they need at an affordable cost? How do we ensure that those that are working 40 hours a week have a living wage? Like when you stop making every human issue a wedge issue, you can always find common ground. And that's been my tried and tested approach with just about every single East Texans, the thousands of people that I've gotten to talk to in the last year.
You've said in the past that you think the legislature should have been called in for a special session during the coronavirus response. What kinds of things do you think that the House and Senate should have been doing that instead the governor acted unilaterally on?
Yeah, so we should have been listening to give more local control. Something that Governor Abbott did was he gave a executive order that went across the entire state of Texas instead of letting local counties and city officials work within what they knew was their need for the response to COVID-19. So letting the Texas legislature meet on that and put down those state mandates in a way that the county can address them. Additionally, we should have met to address workers' rights. Like I mentioned earlier, 3.6 million Texans have lost their job this last year. So we have a lot of workers that are vulnerable, and those that still have their job, may not have access to proper PPE or health insurance or any of those things that make for a safe experience in the middle of a global pandemic. And so additionally, working to hopefully call a special session to pass Medicaid. Now would have been a really great time to ensure thousands and thousands of local East Texans who needed care now more than ever.
What's your final message for voters in the last week and a half before Election Day?
My number one message to East Texans always remains the same, and that is we have to change the expectation of our legislators. They are not special interest, voice for special interest. They're not a voice for their donors. They're not a voice for just one portion of the population. Their sole elected official responsibility should be to improve the lives of their constituents, regardless if you're a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, regardless of what religion you affiliate with, whatever your race is, your ethnicity, your gender, your class, your physical ability. None of those things should come between you and your legislator advocating for you.
Julie, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much.